Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my updated patron, E3. Thank you for continuing to support the channel. We finally got an update on Elon's pay deal appeal, and the Delaware Supreme Court has set the oral arguments for October 15th. The High Court's full 5-member panel will hear the case. And remember, this case has big implications not just for Elon and Tesla, but for the state of Delaware and its retention or not of high-profile companies. And the good news, this is the penultimate step for the Delaware Supreme Court, aka it's the second to last thing that needs to happen before a decision is made. The Supreme Court justices will have a chance to hear the arguments from both sides before they ultimately deliberate. That means the case will be submitted for decision when these oral arguments are done. And as you see here, each justice is obligated to decide all assigned matters within 90 days of submission. The full 90 days would take us to January 13th next year. But historically, it's more likely to be in the neighborhood of 30 days, which would put us sometime in November. All that to say, with this update, I'm quite confident we'll get a ruling on this by the end of this year, and potentially as soon as the end of October or into November. Now, of course, the outcome of Elon and Tesla's appeal here is likely to impact the new long-term pay package with new incentives for Elon to some degree, but we may be voting on that plan at the shareholder meeting on November 6th before we get a final ruling from Delaware. I'm just thinking if Elon's 2018 plan is denied again, then Tesla would likely want to give Elon a bit more, since that would mean Elon effectively losing out on tens of billions of dollars, even with that new bridge incentive pay package that we talked about last week for $29 billion. We'll certainly follow along so everyone is informed for the vote. Just in case you saw this reporting from Drive Tesla Canada because it made its rounds on X, this was old news. It's the same thing we talked about last week. And yes, I do think this headline is somewhat misleading, but I covered that all in Friday's episode. Bloomberg reported today, Tesla is now reassigning engineering staff from the Dojo team. The Dojo team has been split into parts, with personnel being distributed across several groups. At least some software-focused personnel now report to Ashok, who is leading Tesla's AI efforts for robotaxis and Optimus. Other engineers working on silicon or semiconductors report to Aaron Rodgers, not the quarterback, who oversees hardware for Tesla's autonomous driving efforts and is responsible for AI5. Firmware staff are now under Silvio Brugada, who's led security engineering and assumed more responsibility after David Lau left the company. And before David left, he was the head of software engineering. And I do find it a bit exciting that Ashok's team gets some more talent as well as the AI5 and security engineering teams. As we said, there are aspects of this move that'll likely streamline Tesla's operations and expenses and supercharge some divisions as that Dojo talent reintegrates and puts its focus toward AI5 and 6. The word coming out of Buffalo now is that Tesla will indeed cancel that $500 million Dojo supercomputer plan for its plant in Buffalo. So now, just over a year and a half after that announcement, the ESD, the Empire State Development Agency, said they're aware of recent news reports about the discontinuation of Tesla's Dojo project. While the state has not funded Dojo, ESD is contacting the company to understand the potential impacts to its Riverbend operations, its contractual obligations to the state, and its ongoing negotiations with ESD. And this comes at a time while the state has been negotiating with Tesla for a new 5-year lease of Giga New York, which was built and originally equipped with over $950 million in state taxpayer money. That was to be in exchange for certain workforce level commitments, which Tesla has met with over 1,600 current factory employees. But ESD documents indicate a new deal was supposed to include the $500 million supercomputer, with Tesla set to face significant rental cost penalties if the company did not follow through on that plan. And sure, as you would expect, some state lawmakers who were previously frustrated with Tesla's dealings in New York are now even more upset. I'm not going to read the comments from the lawmakers because, as you can see, they're overly emotional, but you can read if you want. Ultimately, what's likely to happen here is Tesla will get in touch with the lawmakers in Buffalo and they'll figure out the best path forward, and Tesla will explain all of the changes at the company. So no, it's not ideal for Tesla to announce these plans and then pull back on them, but as we explained recently, things change. This was a pretty interesting comment from a CTO of Panasonic. He dismissed the prospect of solid-state batteries for EVs winning market share from increasingly efficient lithium batteries. He said solid-state batteries would only ever be a niche product with applications better suited to drones and power drills than cars. This coming after an executive at CATL said that solid-state battery commercialization was years away and cast doubt on Toyota's belief that a breakthrough in the tech would transform the auto sector. He said, "I think it's a bit difficult for solid-state batteries to have enough potential to replace lithium. I think the sectors they'll be used in will be very niche. I don't have a strong conviction like this is going to change the world." So I think it's important to be reminded of that, and it's rather bullish for the lithium battery outlook. Which means, at least for the foreseeable future, Tesla will likely not have to go through the painstaking process of vertically integrating another new cell chemistry. The story I'm about to share is tragic, but I think it'll help get the severity of the situation across, and ultimately, that's my goal. Years ago, when this industry was still in its infancy, Amy Boyer was shot and killed by a former classmate. Amy's parents ended up suing a data broker for negligence and invasion of privacy. Why? Because the man who killed her paid that data broker to provide Amy's personal information and location data, and they complied. Now, I found this when I was researching Delete Me and considering them as a partner of the channel. I was, of course, appalled, and I knew I wanted to spread the message about the importance of stopping these data brokers from selling and profiting off of you and your family's personal information. And while this was an extreme example, there are millions of non-fatal outcomes that can cause years of headaches and financial hardships if you become one of the unfortunate targets of all of these nefarious actors. So if you want to push back on this industry, Delete Me does the legwork of removing your personal information from these data brokers online. I just got my 12th report, and I was quite pleased to see that Delete Me reviewed over 5,700 listings and only had to submit removal submissions for 2 of them, which means the rest of all of these listings are clean. And the best part, Delete Me continually checks to make sure it stays that way, because as you buy things online and create accounts, there's always the chance for new data brokers to pool that info and sell it to the others. Delete Me is an American company. Their customer service is excellent. You get your own privacy advisor if you have any questions, and it's incredibly affordable. So if you want to take back your privacy for you and your family and have the peace of mind that comes with it, you can head to joindeleteme.com/electrified to get 20% off using my code Electrified linked below, or by using the QR code on the screen. The Tesla account had a little mic drop today, a 56-second video showing a 7-hour road trip where the driver did not take over once. The ride was from the Bay Area to Los Angeles using supervised FSD. And as I said on X, Waymo just cannot do this, and I don't say it to belittle Waymo and its accomplishments, but really just to educate people that Tesla's system is very different and, in my opinion, superior to Waymo and really anything else out there. It's really just that for the next few months, there's likely to be enough regulatory confusion and a lack of awareness of reality for many to still be in the dark about what's coming. We'll zip through some comments Elon had about Robotaxi and FSD. He did say it will be open access next month in September. And what is it? Well, he was replying to somebody asking about Robotaxi, which is only in Austin because right now Tesla cannot use the term taxi or cab in California. So yes, I'm taking this to mean from Elon that Tesla plans to open up the Robotaxi service in Austin in September to the general public, which yes, obviously means Tesla will have to have more than 10 to 15 vehicles operating in the fleet. And the big question becomes, when Tesla does increase that number of cars, will there still be a safety monitor in all of them, or is this going to be the time when they come out? Right now, we don't know for sure, but I would be a bit surprised if Tesla wanted to hire 100+ different people to be safety monitors for this expansion. I say that number because right now Waymo has about 100 vehicles in its fleet in Austin, and they have comparable geofence sizes. And don't forget, by next month, Tesla's geofence in Austin might be even bigger. Gally was commenting on Dojo and this transition to AI 6, and responding to that, Elon said, "I see a potential path for an epic outcome." And I know many of you will roll your eyes at this, but I'll be clear, all noise aside, I still share this same belief as Elon. Doubling down on what Tesla does best is likely to yield pretty impressive results over the next few years. What does Tesla do best in this case? Inference compute. Elon said the FSD release in about 6 weeks will be a dramatic gain with a 10x higher parameter count and many other improvements. It's going through training and testing now. Once we confirm real-world safety of FSD 14, which we think will be amazing, the car will nag you much less. There's your confirmation. It is indeed FSD 14 that we might be getting if testing goes well as soon as September. And just to hammer the point home, Elon also said once it became clear all paths converged to AI 6, I had to shut down Dojo and make some tough personnel choices, as Dojo 2 was now an evolutionary dead end. Dojo 3 arguably lives on in the form of a large number of AI 6 system on chips on a single board. It's still the case all of the screenshots I'm seeing from Tesla's robotaxi and ride-hail operations are materially cheaper than all of the competition. This one from Josh West has the robotaxi at $5.53 and the same ride for Waymo at $20.94. And just keep in mind, this is Tesla's cost structure with safety monitors and with no scale. Now, of course, there are no guarantees that when those situations change, then Tesla's pricing will change. But my point is, with time, I still think Tesla will be able to continually drive the cost down as they reach scale and remove safety monitors and roll out the Cybercab, etc. And when you look at these numbers like robotaxi at $3.80 and then Uber over $9.90, Lyft over $10.80, Waymo over $21.50. So we're not just talking 10 to 30% cheaper. In a lot of cases, we're talking 3 to 7 times cheaper roughly. Figure dropped a video today over 2 minutes long showing its Figure 02 folding laundry autonomously for an hour. And Brett did say this is the first humanoid robot that can fold laundry autonomously, powered by their in-house Helix VLA model, which is their neural network architecture. And he said it's the same exact Helix architecture, only new data. So what they're saying is that their robot is processing verbal requests, it responds, and then performs the task end to end without any human intervention. So they're saying it's a very comparable thing to what Tesla is doing with Optimus, where it learns from data and reinforcement learning. For a while at the beginning, I wasn't really buying everything that Brett and Figure were selling, but with each video they put out and each new company that decides to invest in Figure, I think there may be something going on here. But as we know, a demo is just that, a demo, whether it's Figure or Tesla. Brett has said that Figure plans to ship 100,000 humanoid robots over the next 4 years through 2029. To start, Figure is focused on more controlled settings like in a factory with BMW, but eventually they do clearly plan to scale to home tasks like laundry. At this point, I'll just say I'm taking all humanoid timelines from Brett and Elon with a grain of salt, expecting delays. Tesla's now planning to be an electricity supplier to households in the UK. Tesla has applied to Ofgem for a license that would allow it to take on the likes of Octopus and British Gas by selling power to households. As far as we know, it'll be a very similar program to Tesla Electric, the one that's operating here in Texas. Tesla has been steadily hiring for operations and policy staff as it prepares to enter the market. And yes, Tesla already has a leg up on some of the competition in the market because they've sold tens of thousands of Powerwalls to homes in the UK. Not to mention all the people with Tesla home chargers and Tesla EVs that could be potential customers. And that's not all. As we know, Tesla has a significant part of the wholesale energy market with Megapack installations and the benefits of its auto bidder software. Right now, we do not have any specific details on what Tesla electricity will look like in the UK, but I'm guessing it's going to be similar to that VPP blueprint that we see in Texas. This one is just crazy on so many different levels, but long story short, there was this guy that had his Cybertruck on a highway and he created this video and then acted as if Tesla was disabling his car on the middle of the highway. But Tesla said this is fake, that's not our screen, Tesla does not disable vehicles remotely. And apparently this guy did this to try to promote a song about the Cybertruck. So one, important to know, Tesla does not disable vehicles remotely, and two, I'm really hoping that Tesla does indeed go after this person that did it because he also faked a cease and desist letter from Tesla. So just completely ridiculous behavior by this individual, not to mention how unsafe it is to just randomly stop his vehicle in the middle of the highway. Tesla's second showroom in India, this one now in Delhi, is officially open. This one joins the first one that was opened in Mumbai. This one does look like a very nice facility with all glass glass windows and doors out front. And sticking with that premium theme, Tesla's second supercharger in India is now live. This one also in Delhi with 4 stalls, and it looks quite nice. Rivian is set to follow Tesla's lead with the Cybertruck developing its own steer-by-wire system. This based on a new job listing at Rivian, and it sounds like the company is just exploring this idea for now. As we've been saying, they will all follow in Tesla's lead to varying degrees at certain points. It's really just a matter of time. Tesla's wait times for the Model Y in the US are now up to 4 to 6 weeks from 1 to 3 weeks before, which should not be that much of a surprise given the end of the tax credit in the US, set to be gone at the end of Q3. And Tesla has officially launched the new Model 3 long-range rear-wheel drive vehicle in China. This is now the longest range Model 3 in China, and it starts at about $37,500 US. And there were some shots of Tesla's new Model Y L, this time though in Germany, not just China. I think many of us were expecting this variant to come to other markets around the world as well, especially the United States. So while this sighting of testing in Germany does not confirm anything, I think that's a pretty strong indication that we will see this vehicle in other markets, not just China. I will also say some accounts out there are saying we know the official price for this vehicle, but as far as I can tell, that is only speculation. We do not have the official price yet. And this Model Y L was spotted close to the Nürburgring. Production of this vehicle is said to be underway in China, and deliveries are expected to begin in Q4 this year. Speaking of delivery timelines, Elon reiterated the Tesla Semi will be in volume production next year. Remember that court order from the Trump administration that basically shut down the federal EV funding from the NEVI program? Well, now the Trump administration will resume sending those federal funds to the states so they can build out the nation's EV charging network. This because a court ruled in June that Trump did not have the right to withhold money Congress had already allocated. And construction may move more quickly now because the Department of Transportation has eliminated earlier requirements like ensuring disadvantaged communities have access to EV chargers, and the other requirement, which was promoting the use of union labor in installation. Those requirements have since been eliminated. But an encouraging stat, even with this taxpayer funding paused, America was on pace to open 2.4 times as many fast chargers this year as it did in 2022. So just over $2 billion of the funds that were held up are now going to be released, and then over time the expectation is that almost all of the initial $5 billion will ultimately make it to the states. Revel decided to shut down its ride-hail operations, and remember they were running a fleet of about 500 Model Ys. They did of course have human drivers, and they said that ridership had declined and that the rideshare market in NYC has become increasingly competitive. So Revel is going to refocus on building out fast charging for EVs. And Revel would never admit it publicly, but I think part of this decision is an awareness that both Waymo and probably more importantly Tesla are coming for the ride-hail market in New York. Revel was positioned as a more premium EV-focused alternative to Uber and Lyft, but as you can see here, given that Tesla's in the process of hiring test drivers for New York City, Tesla going to that market directly would of course make things very difficult for Revel. And by the way, this article from CNBC isn't really news. They were just highlighting some of these job postings at Tesla that we've covered in the past, where Tesla is hiring people not just in New York City, but across the country for people to drive around these validation vehicles. And as of today, Tesla has not yet applied for approvals to test autonomous vehicles on city streets in New York. For now, any company that obtains a permit to test AVs in New York has to keep a trained safety driver behind the wheel, ready to take control at all times. But remember, as we talked about recently, Waymo is in the process of trying to change these regulations right now. Respectfully, this one from GM made me laugh. They're now apparently looking to bring back some of the people from its Cruise division. This as part of a renewed push to develop a new driverless car. This time around, the project would be focused on autonomous cars for personal use rather than a robotaxi service. The first step, development of hands-free, eyes-free driving with a human in the vehicle, with the ultimate goal being a car that can drive with no one at the wheel. GM said it has been running human-driven vehicles on public roads, gathering data for the development of self-driving tech. And yes, they said the LiDAR-equipped fleet is logging data to build simulation models that will guide development. I'm not expecting to see anything material from GM on this front for a few years. The CEO of Mercedes was criticizing the EU's plan to ban CO2 emitting vehicles by 2035. He said, "We need a reality check, otherwise we're heading at full speed against the wall." He added Europe's car market could collapse if it goes ahead. He also currently serves as the head of the European auto lobby, the ACEA, and instead he's calling for tax incentives and cheap power prices at charging stations, aka carrot rather than the stick. Replying to that news, Elon said, "Just make good EVs," but unfortunately for them, it's not that easy. Green the Only did say it looks like Tesla is adding Unreal Engine-based autopilot visualizations. He said he sees it in the firmware, but only on AMD-based Model S and X cars for now. He shared this video saying it looks like on the main screen the car avatar is also controlled by it. Now you can interact with it and it's getting somewhat more detailed. So I'm not gonna lie, Tesla's in-car display is always a fan favorite when new people get into a Tesla, but if eventually it looked something like this, I will say that would be even more impressive. Now, definitely no guarantees with this update from Green the Only, but something to keep an eye on. Just remember, because a lot of people get confused about this, Tesla is not making driving decisions when on FSD based on what you see in the in-car visualization. Ultimately, FSD is making decisions based on what the cameras are seeing, not what's being represented in the visualization. Kyle Connor and the Out of Spec crew finally got a chance to go test out Tesla's robotaxi in Austin, and point one, he has effectively been converted. He said himself he was skeptical Tesla would ever be able to be autonomous, and he was enjoying the experience of seeing it happen from the back seat. But he also did a pretty interesting test where he kept rerouting one of his robotaxi rides over and over, and eventually the remote operators called the vehicle and basically said, "Hey, you're down around 10% state of charge. We're going to have to reroute you to a supercharger." But to make it as seamless as possible for Kyle, they sent another Model Y robotaxi to meet them at the supercharger so they could continue their trip. So nice to see Tesla adjusting on the fly to testing like this that may not have been expected. John asked if automatic parking at superchargers would soon become a dedicated feature. He said it only works about 1/5 of the time for him, to which Elon said yes, it will work essentially perfectly with future software updates. This news is a few days old by now, so just quickly if you missed it, two people that were testing the Tesla Semi, both with decades of experience in the industry. One said, "I do not want to go back to a gas truck. I'd like to retire in this vehicle," that being the Tesla Semi. "I just love driving it. I can have anywhere between 10 to 15 stops in a day. The navigation systems in these trucks are just unbelievable. The clarity of the cameras are unbelievable." And the second said it did not disappoint. It has a better turning radius than our two axles. On the robotaxi front, SMR highlighted a pretty wild fact. He said just 3 cities account for about 50% of Australia's population. Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane account for about half of the country's population. And that's why he said it should be easy for Tesla to dominate the rideshare market in Australia almost instantly. Sawyer sent me a DM and he was kind enough to explain why we had that discrepancy for that major Tesla Megapack deal when it came to the overall value. He said his estimate of $2.7 billion was a bit lower because he actually applied that 8% discount that Tesla gives to customers when they buy the Megapack in bulk. He said a single Megapack would cost around $1 million each if you buy one, but if you buy 1,000, Tesla applies an 8% discount. And he noted the discount is likely bigger because the configurator maxes out at 1,000, but that order was over 3,000. So just wanted to clear that up, and again, Sawyer, I appreciate you taking the time to share that. I'm guessing many of you have seen the news about Ford, and they unveiled some of their plans for future EVs, but for now, they're still just plans. But Ford's planning a family of low-cost EVs from its plant in Kentucky, starting with a 4-door, mid-sized $30,000 pickup in 2027. They talked about a scalable platform for trucks, vans, SUVs. It'll be software defined, taking a page out of Tesla's book. They'll use LFP chemistries. And what do you know? Their manufacturing process will resemble an assembly tree and will transform to a single assembly line, which is, guess what? Taking a page out of Tesla's unboxed process. They talked about the platform using 20% fewer parts than a typical vehicle and 40% fewer workstations dock to dock, much less complexity, simple wiring, prismatic cells, and so on. But for now, they have have not released any specific vehicle. They just largely talked about the platform. As we know, it's one thing to talk about it, it's an entirely different thing to execute on it. So hopefully Ford can pull it off. Because yes, I am rooting for more good EVs. And yes, Ford is also going to start using gigacastings, which they're calling the unicasting. What did I say earlier? They're all going to follow Tesla sooner or later because, as I like to say, success leaves clues. But on the other hand, Sony and Honda seemingly have not got the memo yet because their first EV that started pre-production in Ohio has 40 sensors, 18 cameras, 1 LiDAR, 9 radars, and 12 ultrasonics. All of that to enable level 3 driving in specific conditions in the future. Honestly, it's not a bad looking vehicle aesthetically, but it only gets up to 300 miles of EPA range. And given it'll be over a $90,000 vehicle, I agree with Jeff Lutz, DOA. Tesla stock closed the day at $340.84, up 0.53%, while the NDX was up 1.33%. The volume was 13% below the average. Don't forget, check out Delete Me linked below for those interested, and as always, thank you very much for considering supporting the channel in that way. Hope you have a wonderful day. Please like the video. If you did, you can find me on X linked below, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.